Hey, it's Chris Chico, and in today's video, I want to share with you the 3 stages of wholesaling. Now, these 3 stages are very important because if you are a real estate investor, you're starting out, you're looking to become a wholesaler, you're looking to get your first deal, that it's important you understand that you're going to be at a different stage than somebody who's already doing deals to somebody who may be potentially looking at an exit out of wholesaling. Because if you're here today, then one of the things I want to tell you is that, the wholesaling is a great way to get started in real estate investing. It cannot be your end destination. It cannot. You have to exit. And so it's very important for you to understand that, so that way you can start making preparations as you progress through the cycles. So let's go ahead and cover each one individually. Now, the first stage is what I call the grind. Now, the grind is that stage where you are looking to get your first deal and then subsequently get your first 2 to 3 deals. And so really when you get to the 3rd deal, and the 3rd deal is important because the 3rd deal, by the time you finish your 3rd deal, then you have pretty much understand and know all the different steps in order to get a wholesale deal from one end to the other and to get paid. And then now you transition to the next step, which I'm going to cover in a minute. Now, with the grind stage, I call it the grind because it is very unsexy. It is a stage at which you are pulling out all the stops. And you have to keep this in mind because if you're here with me today and you've never done a deal, then you have to know that you've got to get your hands dirty. And by the grind, I mean that you are doing all kinds of things that maybe some of the things are not producing results. Some of them are producing lackluster results. It seems like you're spinning your wheels. Maybe you're spending time on the phone cold calling. Maybe you're sending out direct mail and it's not working. Maybe you're doing online marketing and it just doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And the grind is the most difficult part of it because many times you don't see any progress at all. You see everybody out there making money, doing tremendously with wholesaling and making a lot of money, but yet you don't see any movement. So the grind is that part of the business where there's a lot of casualty, where a lot of people just don't make it. This is a business like any other business, that a very small percentage of the people do make it, and many of them go on for years and years struggling to find a deal but never really get anywhere. And in the end, they think, well, maybe that business isn't real, or maybe that business wasn't for me. So the grind is that one where you have to, roll up your sleeves and you got to get dirty and you got to do whatever it takes in order for you to find a deal. If you have to drive around all over town, around neighborhoods, looking for ugly houses and writing them down and then calling people on your cell phone and doing, and maybe knocking on people's doors, you do what you got to do to get your first 2 to 3 deals done. Now, the next stage of the wholesaling business is what I call the squeeze. And the squeeze is that now that you've figured out how to make money with this business, now that you figured out the details of how to get a deal across the table, now it's a matter of how can you do this as many times as possible to generate as much cash as you can while what you are doing is still working. And I say that because a lot of these strategies that you can implement to find motivated property owners looking to sell you the property at a discount, they all have a shelf life. They don't last forever. I remember back when I was first doing postcards, this was back in 2003. Nobody was doing postcards. We would send out 1,000 postcards and we would get hundreds of people calling, asking to sell the property at a discount. There was no other real estate investors that we were competing with. And so that was a great time. However, that window of opportunity closed, where all of a sudden now there were a lot of real estate investors mailing the same postcards, sending out to the same list, and they become very, very saturated. And then I had to pivot, and I pivoted many, many times. However, you have to understand that when you find something that works, when you find something that produces results, you have got to squeeze as much as you can. You got to take your blinders, put them on, and you're going to say, you know what? There might be 10, 15, 20, 30 different ways of going out and finding a deal, but I have found one way, maybe a second way right now that is really working well, and I'm going to squeeze the crap out of that way or a couple ways, and I'm going to try to make as much money as I can in the shortest period of time, because I know that is going to go away. Something is going to cause that particular strategy not to work. Another example would be text messaging. If you got in early when it came to text messaging, when it came to getting a bunch of lists and skip tracing them and then sending them text messages, you were the only game in town. You had it all to yourself. The same thing with cold calling, but that changed too. So you got to squeeze as much as you can while the getting is good. Now, the 3rd stage of the business is the exit. And you might be thinking, what do you mean the exit, Chico? This is a great business. Why wouldn't I be doing this forever? No, you don't want to be doing this business forever. Wholesaling was always a means to an end. Wholesaling was the way for you to get into real estate. Wholesaling was the way for you to start a business of your own with very little capital so you can accumulate some money and then move to that next thing that you're going to do. Now, that next thing that you're going to do could be in real estate, it could be out of real estate. For example, in real estate could be that you transition from just wholesaling to now you're actually buying properties. You might be fixing them up. You might be keeping them as rentals. You then might migrate to buying apartment buildings, buying a mobile home park. So you're looking at wholesaling as an entry point, but now you're also looking at the same time as an exit out of wholesaling because you don't want to be wholesaling the rest of your life. Another way to exit the wholesaling business is to do something that I've been doing, where I have transitioned to helping other real estate investors do deals, where I have transitioned to teaching marketing and gathering an influence and building my reputation such that then now I have multiple streams of revenue. That doesn't mean that I don't do wholesaling, but wholesaling is not my full-time gig. Wholesaling is not the thing I do each and every single day. And so if you look at someone and you're following someone and you see that they've been wholesaling for the last 20 years and they're still continuing to wholesale, I think you should be looking at them and saying, well, gee, maybe that's not someone I want to follow. Why? Because I don't want to be doing wholesaling for 20 years. I want to be able to get in, get as much cash as I can, and then be able to have an exit out of wholesaling. So those are the 3 stages. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but this is something that really came to light with a conversation for one of my coaches. This is exactly what I have done. I started out looking for an opportunity to make more money, to get out of my job. I tried MLM, multi-level marketing. I tried all kinds of crazy stuff. And in the end, I ended up as a real estate agent and then eventually made my way to becoming a real estate investor and a wholesaler. And that was my exit out of the rat race. That was my entry point into being an entrepreneur. And I did really well with that. And I squeezed that as much as I could. And then I also saw my exit. I said, you know what? I want to get into the internet game. I see that people would like to learn from me. I would like to teach them as well. And so I got started in the business of teaching, in the business of building a presence online, in the business of selling courses and selling other stuff online. And in the end, that has served me tremendously well. Now, I still do wholesaling, but I don't do it with the intensity and the vigor that maybe somebody would when they're first starting out. This whole conversation here is coming because of a conversation that I had with one of my mentors, and he said to me, Chico, your students can't be looking at wholesaling as the end destination. It's only a means to an end. It's only a path to get to their eventual spot. But you can't leave them stuck there in wholesaling. And maybe that's some of the reasons why I've been thinking about maybe helping you and teaching you other things outside of real estate so that now you can figure out what your exit is. So do me a favor, let me know. Do you feel that I am correct? Do you want to do wholesaling for the rest of your life? Do you feel like, oh my God, wholesaling is the best thing since sliced bread and I just want to get up every morning and I want to talk to these property owners and I want to hear everything they say and I want to negotiate, and every day I want to go through smelly houses that smell like piss and they're completely filled with furniture and it's just, I love it. And if that is you, then I would say, God bless you. Best of luck to you, because that doesn't sound like a great thing to do. You have to do it in the beginning. You have to do it in the grind, but not for life. Come on. Let me know what you think. By the way, if you're finding this information helpful, if it's enlightening you, if it's making your head just tingle because you're like, oh, Chico, I never heard of somebody telling me this before, you are a genius. I know I am. But do me a favor, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button on here so that now you can get the next video from me and I can enlighten you even more, make you even smarter.